The traditional three R's of education, reading, writing, and arithmetic, are in the 21st century turning into the four C's: communications, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. But there's a fifth C gaining traction: culture. Is just having a job enough? Is a paycheck enough? More and more young people are asking about a company's culture. Do our goals align? Is our vision of society the same? Human resources expert Daniel Hall suggests what students learn at 16 is going to make them more valuable at 26. Welcome to BexarCast. I'm Randy Langford, and this is BexarCast, a weekly interview with business, political, education, and nonprofit leaders. We're examining the relationships between all four and how each one benefits from the success of the other three. Daniel Hall has worked in almost every discipline of human resources for more than 12 years. He served as head of HR for a global firm, designed and built an HR department from scratch, and spearheaded a number of successful human capital initiatives. He holds a bachelor's degree from Concordia University, Texas, a master's in human resources administration from Central Michigan University, and an executive master's in human resources management from Cornell University. Daniel, thanks for joining me. Thanks for making the time. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, Randy. It's good to talk to you again.
Well, and I wanted to talk to you in a couple of roles. You're the human resources expert, the HR expert, but you're also a dad expert.
You want to say that? Yeah, I'm a dad expert.
So we can come at this from a couple of directions, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast. Was BexarFest started out as a way for high school kids to learn media production, and I've had teachers tell me that their students are getting so much more than that. Yeah, they get to play with the camera and learn how to set up lights, but they're learning creativity, communications. When we put them in these team situations, they have to learn how to collaborate. They learn critical thinking skills when they're going through the process of creating this story. So these kids are going to enter the job market one of these days, and it probably won't be in media. We know that. They'll probably go into other careers, but it seems to me like those kind of skills, that kind of experience would be valuable in any career. As an HR expert, what is your thought?
Absolutely, 100% agree. Most employers now, it's not, especially the bigger organizations too. What they're looking for is what we call soft skills. So people skills, the ability to collaborate, the ability to have critical thinking, and work in a team and to communicate. Those are actually the kind of skills now that employers across the board, regardless of industry, are looking at. When you kind of look out at the overall job market, just in San Antonio or in Texas or across the country or even globally, you see huge organizations. There's trillion-dollar organizations now, but they're big and they're complex. So it takes more than just one person to figure out what issues are, what problems need to be solved. You have to have that critical thinking. You have to be able to work as a team because, as the old saying goes, two heads are better than one.
Right.
And as an extension, four heads are better than two, eight heads are better than four. It takes a team to be able to conquer some of these problems because organizations have grown so much that they're so complex.
Right. When you talk about that global perspective, let's hone that down a little bit to San Antonio.
Absolutely.
Does a workforce with those kind of skills, that kind of experience, that it seems to me again would make San Antonio more appealing to companies that are looking to open facilities here or relocate here? Does that make us a better job market?
I absolutely believe so. The more that we can promote that within the upcoming generation, through high school and through college, the better. Teaching these kids these skills at this age is great. We and it's better to do it now. You know, I've seen a lot just being in HR for many years, and working at corporations of all sizes. From Fortune 100, to small nonprofits. I've seen kind of a trend of not all, but a lot of young adults coming out of high school and coming out of college don't necessarily have the ability to communicate or to collaborate or to work in a team or to have those critical thinking skills. When faced with a problem, they're used to having a chapter review, and the answer to this problem is in chapter 5, page 80.
Right.
And that's not the case in the real world. You get a problem gets thrown in your lap, and you have to figure it out. So the ability to have that and improve that in the next generation that's going to become the workforce of San Antonio, I absolutely think is going to be key to attracting more businesses and more bigger companies to come in. I think we've seen a shift a little bit recently in the last few years of more companies coming in, like Hulu and some other big name companies like that have started to recognize San Antonio as a place that has that kind of talent. And that they can build successful businesses with.
Right. And it's interesting that you mentioned that it's better for kids to learn these lessons at this age while they're in high school or at college age. And that's very, it resonates with me, because one of the things we do is we deliberately put students in this awkward situation where you have to, their experience has always been parent student or parent child, teacher student. They've always been the kid that you do what the adult says.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're in a situation where it's peer to peer. You're the vendor and this is your client. What do you got? And so we do that on purpose. We put them in that awkward position to where they have to state their case and then defend it and absorb feedback and incorporate it. And yeah, I absolutely agree. It's better to learn this lesson at 17 than at 25, I would think.
No, absolutely. I agree with that, both as an HR professional and as a father.
As a dad.
If I can get my kids, if I can get my kids to learn that, at 16, 17, they're not there yet, but one of them's getting closer. But if I can get them to learn at 16, 17, then, I think I've done a good job.
Good job.
Yeah.
You're good. Teach them adulting. I've heard that phrase. They need to learn adulting.
Adulting. They do.
Another thing, when I talk about immersing kids in this real world job situation, we also immerse them in the nonprofit's culture. They're engaged in the nonprofit for months. We make the pairings in September and they start working on their productions, and they work on them throughout the winter, and we have the premiere in February. So they're working shoulder to shoulder with these nonprofit executives for months at a time. And that culture of what I call a culture of caring, where they see people who are compassionate and empathetic and dedicated to a cause, and they're working for more than just a paycheck. How does that carry over in creating the culture of the organization these kids are going to end up going to? Okay, I did this volunteer work when I was in high school. Now I have a real job, and I know what a good culture looks like. I want to see that.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head with what you said there, Randy. I think in being able to see with these nonprofits, what it's like to have a organization that actually cares and wants to make a difference in society. I think that's great. There's been a lot of shifts towards working. Let me back up. There's been a big shift in the workforce within the last probably 5 to 8 years of younger employees. I guess you would call them millennial generation on down. They typically want to work for an organization that has a purpose. And what you've seen too is businesses responding to that, and they've come out and stated, "Oh no, we actually have a purpose. We want to support this." So I think having that exposure as a nonprofit and really truly understanding that this is an organization that's trying to do something to better society will help guide them in finding good companies to work for when they get out into the workforce and want to start pursuing a larger career.
And you speak from experience. Tell me your background about getting started. Your first job was at a nonprofit, wasn't it?
Yeah. So when I started out in HR, I started out at a nonprofit here in San Antonio. They're actually the second largest health and human services nonprofit in the nation. They weren't when I started. So there's actually a lot of career prospects in working with the nonprofit. Number one, it's great to be able to work with an organization that is out there helping helping society, and literally you can see the difference that's being made even in the HR department. It wasn't necessarily on the front lines, if you will, but I knew I was hiring the people that were going to be on the front lines. I was supporting them. I was making sure they had what they needed to be able to go out there and continue the mission of the organization. So that was the part that I knew I was playing for the overall goal. And then, one of the good things about working at a nonprofit career-wise is that nonprofits aren't like, you know, the huge organizations that you see out there. They're not like a huge, like a USAA or something, where if you started out, you know, you start out in a very, very, very focused role, and then you may, in about 2 or 3 years, move to another one, and another 3 or 4 years, move to another one, and you kind of have to do a rotation within the organization. Nonprofits, they're typically smaller, and they typically do not have those kind of resources. So you're hands-on with everything.
Right.
And so I actually kind of attribute the fact that I spent, you know, the first 5.5 years of my career working at that nonprofit while it grew, uh, to my career growth and being able to leverage myself to get better positions down the road. Because even though I may have been going up against other apps, I had 3, 4, 5 more years experience in HR. They didn't necessarily have all the hands-on experience with all the different
Right.
things that I had to do because I was forced to, because we just didn't have as big of a team. So there is definitely some benefit to working at a nonprofit like that.
And I want to touch on that smorgasbord approach where you do a little bit of everything. Um, you make a very valid point that that's the way a lot of nonprofits operate. And what we're doing in giving these kids a taste of nonprofit life is we want them to know that you can be an accountant and work with animals, or you can be a mechanic and feed the hungry, that there are legitimate feed your family careers available in the nonprofit field, and try them. Maybe working at a nonprofit isn't for you, but it's not going to kill you to try it. And from a professional development perspective, you touched on it a little bit. What's the payoff to that? It creates a more rounded individual?
Mm-hmm. No, it does. And I mean, you're right. You talked about an accountant that, you know, loves animals. Well, you know, the Humane Society needs people to, you know, do their books and do their taxes. You know, nonprofits don't pay, you know, they pay less taxes, but they don't pay no taxes.
Right.
So, you know, that there's definitely careers there that you can find. But no, as from a professional development aspect, I mean, absolutely, you do, because again, we go back to those soft skills we were talking about with like the critical thinking and the collaboration. And working with a nonprofit, you know, you can find some really good paying jobs that are really more fulfilling because, again, instead of just doing one single thing, you're able to kind of see the vastness of what that job career field may be, whether it's, again, like me in HR, or if you want to go into finance, like operations, even sales. Some nonprofits offer services and things like that they have to go out there, you know, to use that to fund other parts of their nonprofit that they help, you know, things like that. So it really is. I mean, I can't say it enough. I've had other young professionals come to me early on in their careers asking what's a good way for me to advance. And I've actually told them, look for nonprofits, because they're number one, they're always looking for people to come in and help, and good people and good talent that they can kind of help and groom. But then you're going to be faced with a lot more challenges a lot earlier on in your career typically than you would at a bigger organization. Just out of necessity, because we're, again, you know, we go back to giant company like here in San Antonio, like USAA, you know, they may have an issue and they can probably throw 30 people at it. A nonprofit may have an issue and you get 2. You know, and so, but then
There's plenty of challenges to go around.
Oh, absolutely. But if you're up for the challenge, it's really a rewarding opportunity for you to be creative and problem solve and figure out how to move that organization forward.
Right. And you're leading right into all the best questions when you talk about, is it a team of 30 that's going to take on this challenge, or is it a team of you?
Right.
And BexarCast
Right.
is different in one important way. Well, it's different in a lot of ways, but one important way that it's different from other media festivals is that it's a team event. There's no individuals. It's your school, your team is competing in all these different categories, and we did that on purpose, again, because nobody makes a film alone. It's a team sport.
Right.
And certainly nobody brings all the elements of BexarCast by themselves. The video production, still photography, graphic design, original music. I mean, there's a lot of different talents and a lot of different skill sets involved there. And we want to put students in that collaborative situation deliberately. Again, you're going to have to learn how to work together, and they have to learn to trust each other, and they have to learn to live up to their commitments. Not only to their clients, you have a commitment to your client. You have a deadline. This isn't just when you feel like it. So you have a commitment to your client and a commitment to each other. My teammates are counting on me, and I'm not going to be the weak link in this chain. Where does that put those kids on the hireability scale?
Really, really high. I mentioned before, like we've seen, like I've personally seen some issues where like some of I said young adults coming out of high school, coming out of college don't necessarily have those soft skills. Being able to build that now is great. And not only that, but when these young adults do graduate high school, or if they go to college and then get out of college and they're applying for jobs themselves, they don't have a ton of work experience necessarily coming out of high school or coming out of college always. So they can point back to this as saying, well, no, look, if you need someone, working as a team, well, I accomplished something big. I made a film, that's a big accomplishment right there. And you can say, no, I was, maybe I was in charge of editing. So, I had to wait for, the cameraman to give me the film so I could go in and do the edit. Then I had to pass it on for the voiceover or whatever the next, step is. But they can absolutely point back to that in an interview, and that would definitely give them a step up over some of the people they'd be competing for that job against, who may just be coming out of high school or college and not have any of that kind of collaborative teamwork at all. Because the same, working together in a team to accomplish a goal is the same thing in business, where you have to, work as a team to complete a project, or, to launch a new product or whatever that might be. So having this experience, especially so young, they can build on that and, gain confidence and understand how to do it, and they can take that forward for when they go into the workforce.
Absolutely. And they're learning they're learning the skills. I walk away knowing how to set up lighting or how to use editing software, but I also now understand the importance of being reliable, that
Mm-hmm.
you can count on me. If I say I'm going to do something, you can believe it. It's not going to be blue sky and rainbows. If I say I'm going to do something, you can believe me. And that to me has always been very hireable. I've always been a big fan of somebody doing what they say they're going to do.
Oh, yeah, same here. And I'm in HR. I've got stories for years.
Yeah.
But absolutely, the ability to come through, to be accountable, and what you signed up to do is huge.
Yeah.
And the better you are at that, the more hireability you'll have.
And to learn that lesson, again, it's better to learn that at 16 than at 26, that, oh, it is important to be reliable. Okay, well, now I know.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
one other thing is, I could talk about BearFest all day, but one of the other things we do is we make a big deal out of the premiere every
Mm,
spring when we get together. I mean, we do it at the Tobin. It's not in somebody's garage or in
right.
a gymnasium. And this is the jewel of San Antonio theaters that we put this on in. And the
Hmm.
kids come in and get treated like celebrities. There's a red carpet and photographers and gift bags and trinkets and all that jazz.
Hmm.
And they get to see their video, their production on a 4-story screen in a glamorous theater with 1,000
Right.
people in the audience. And I've had students tell me that, yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. But even more, thanks for taking us seriously. That
Yeah.
you held us accountable. You gave us an assignment, and here's the payoff for living up
Mm,
to living up to what we said we were going to do. From a talent development point of view, let me go down that road a little bit. Giving high school kids that kind of a mountaintop goal, that you got to
mhm.
get to the top of the mountain. It doesn't matter if you get halfway. That's so what? If you don't get to the top,
Right.
then you lose. Giving them that kind of a goal and then celebrating it when they achieve it. What does that instill in an 18-year-old that they can carry on into the career market?
It instills in them confidence, in the understanding that, I can have a goal or a big, what may seem like you mentioned, like a mountain, what may seem like a mountain to climb that I have to do, but I know I can do it because I've done it before.
Yeah, I've already
And
done
having
that,
that,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and having that reward too, that celebration, I think is critical. Just even from like a human psychology perspective, it kind of fires that in the brain, like, oh, I got the reward, because a lot of times we're motivated by getting a reward. And so going into the professional world, I absolutely think it's something they can use, that they can build on. It will create confidence in them to know, and they could be the ones to step up when a big project comes down the line. Say, your company is launching a new product, and we need people to work on this. Instead of backing away, like, I don't know, I'm hoping these be the first ones to raise their hand,
Yeah.
like, I'm ready for the challenge. Let's go. So I think that's great. I think taking them seriously and showing them that they have good ideas, and that, building them up and building that confidence, letting them know you did a great job, and making
Right.
them
Yeah.
film. That's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Just backtracking a minute to where we put them in that awkward situation where you have to deal with adults as an adult, and you got
Mhm.
to make your pitch, and you got to rationalize your plan, and you got to take their feedback and defend your position, and then to go through that process, and then at the end, this is what culminated. This is what came out of
Mhm.
that. I stood my ground. I made my opinion known. I did the work, and here's the reward. Here's the payoff.
Yeah.
That beats any paycheck I ever got. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah. And yeah, no,
but
I agree 100%. I can, being the HR nerd that I am, I can start quoting you. Well, I can start the statistics and things like that talk about too, because you mentioned the paycheck. That a lot of times employees are motivated more by the reward, and by the kind of the pat on the back, the thank you, than they are necessarily getting a bonus for accomplishing something. So again, I think
right.
it's a great approach.
Well, and that's at the roots of nonprofit organizations and
Mm,
nonprofit service is you're doing this as a volunteer. If you don't appreciate the emotional payoff, then you're not going to come back. You won't be back. So
no, that's true. Very true.
mentioning the premiere, talking about that. It's fun on a couple of levels. It's fun just because it's fun, but the kids come into the premiere at the Tobin. They come in that night trying to be kind of blasé, just another premiere, just another theater, and they come in and they see that, oh my gosh, there's 1,000 people here, and there's 400, like you say, HR nerds. There's
Mhm.
400 HR or 400 film nerds that I never knew existed. I was the only, there's four of us at my high school. I didn't know there were other kids at other high schools
Right.
doing the same thing, and so that there
Yeah.
creates that community. But they try to come in as being cool, like teenagers do. I'm cool, I'm fine, and then they see it,
Right.
and they get a little overwhelmed. They get a little verklempt, and then they walk into
Mhm.
the theater and they see the giant screen, and they realize my video is going to play there in front of all these people. Ugh. I mean, you get a little nervous and you get a little excited.
Yeah.
So the kids walk in excited and jazzed about all the trinkets and the goodies and all that, and their parents come in behind them. I got to go to this thing for my kid, some kind of video thing at the
Mhm.
Tobin. So, I can't go out with the rest of the guys tonight. I got to go do this. And then they see it, and they
Mhm.
see what their kids did, and they walk out. The parents are over the moon. The kids walk in over the
Mhm.
moon, and the parents walk out over the moon, because they didn't realize they have a whole new understanding of their own children. That
Yeah.
I never knew my daughter could do that. I didn't know she could do that. Look what my kid did. and
Yeah.
and the parents get a lot more enthusiastic and understand that, like you with your daughter, you've seen her from the time she was born all the way up,
Mhm.
and it's hard to calibrate that you're not four anymore. you're
Mhm.
you're 18, and you have a different skill set than I remember at four.
Right.
And so it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for parents to see their children as adults,
Mhm.
and this is kind of that moment for a lot of
Yeah.
them, that, oh wow, right, look what my kid did. Who knew? And so
Yeah.
that's a big payoff for me. I always enjoy that. And one of the other, and I'll let you speak. I've been talking for 10 minutes. I'll let you
Uh,
speak to this. One of the things we're very intent on doing at the premiere is thanking the teachers and the parents. That these school teachers got plenty to do. They're not looking for more work. And this assignment, taking your team to Bearfest, is not an easy thing. It's work for the teacher. The kids make the video and the graphics and the photos, but the teacher makes all of that happen. As far as,
mhm.
well, we got to go to the nonprofit, we got to set up a schedule, we got to do interviews, and bing bang boom. And so we're very appreciative of the teachers who take this assignment on when they could just as easily say, no, I'm too busy.
Mm.
They give their students this opportunity. And then at the same time, we thank the parents for creating these kids. Look what you made. There wouldn't be a festival if it wasn't for you
Right.
creating these compassionate kids who want to tell these stories. So yeah, we're always very grateful to the parents and the teachers and the administrators who bring their schools to Bearfest. And so as a parent, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, teachers, I mean, they're the unsung heroes of our society. I truly believe. I mean, I'm currently working with a nonprofit right now that one of the things they do is that they oversee charter schools across the state, and I can tell you firsthand, um, teachers they're just the unsung heroes. They make a difference in everyone's lives and the sacrifice they make. So it's great to see that. It's great to see you guys reward them, and of course reward the parents too, because a lot of times parents get overlooked in these kind of things as
Right?
well. So that's really good to see. Speaking as a
Yeah.
parent.
Of two.
Up
You're
to, up to.
Yeah, you got a couple coming up. I'm looking forward to seeing them in the festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your expertise. Thanks for helping out and sharing that HR career aspect to this, because it's easy to just see it as, well, it's a film festival. It's something kids do in high school, but it's preparing them for the rest. I don't want to overstate it, but it's preparing them for what comes next. And I
It
appreciate
is.
your expertise in that.
Oh, absolutely, Randy, and you're 100% correct. It's absolutely preparing them, just not just for professional life, but just for life in general, and how to kind of overcome and tackle challenges as they come. So,
Right?
but thank you for having me. I really appreciated getting to talk to you.
My pleasure. I'm glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you
I
again.
know it's been a while. We'll make sure it's not so long next time.
Yeah, we'll get together sooner. Well, as soon as the pandemic's over, we'll get together
Yeah,
face to
there
face.
you go.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Take care.